Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to this video where I share tips, tools, and conversations to help you grow your ministry. And in this video today, I want to talk about 5 questions that you can ask your new team, staff, volunteers, when you're going in for your first 90 days, okay? Or maybe even have an outside advisor come in and talk to your current team. So when I've started new ministry roles, these are 5 questions that I meet with my leaders, the new leaders that I'm about to lead. And I sit down with each one of them individually and I ask them these 5 questions. Also, now as a consultant, I go in and I meet with leadership teams. And these are some of the questions that I ask as an outside consultant when I'm working with youth ministries, children's ministries, leaders of any ministry, really. But I ask these 5 questions. As a consultant, I'll ask more, but these are typically the 5 that I will ask, especially when I've gone into a brand new ministry role. I want to get at the heart of these 5 questions. It's going to give me a ton of information about the ministry. It's going to give me a ton of information about this person individually and how I can help set them up and set the ministry up for long-term success. Because those first 90 days really do set the tone for the rest of your time there. So it's important that we really dive in and get these first 90 days right. So probably one of my top priorities when I'm going into a new ministry is to meet with all of the leaders. Okay. Now this is going to take some time, right? And we're talking about coffee. We're talking about a lunch. We're talking about, I try to get out of my office and not just them coming in. If you have to, one way to do that is to do a stacking or a batching where maybe you pick a day and you're at a Starbucks and you're there and you block off 30, 45-minute back-to-back meetings. And you just have all of them scheduled back to back to back to back. Or on a Saturday, maybe you're at a restaurant and you have blocked off that booth and you just have people coming back and back to back. Now, practically on that, when I do that, I typically have somebody, if you have a paid assistant that can do this, if not specifically a volunteer that's a little bit more administratively strong, whose schedule, their job is to follow that schedule and to call, text, and communicate and be working to making sure that people are late, they're on time, whatever. And if somebody can't meet, try and move people around. But somebody in the background that's able to kind of help move all of that along, keep making sure that people are coming to meet with you throughout that whole day. Now, if that's not really your style or you really can't put all that together, maybe you just schedule a couple meetings for one day, another meeting for other days. But I would encourage you in the first 90 days, think about meeting with all the leaders and ask them these 5 questions. It'll change how you begin. Also, like I mentioned, maybe you're not in transition. Maybe you're not starting a new ministry role. These are 5 great questions that either you can ask your team, although they might not give you, raw answers. So maybe invite an outside consultant. And you can't pay for a consultant. Maybe you just have an outside friend come in and do this for you. And maybe they can't meet with all of them, but maybe they can meet with them in groups. Maybe they get your student leadership team together. Maybe they get some of your children's nursery workers together. Maybe they get some of your small group leaders together, right, in batches and groups, and they ask these questions and create conversation and then give you kind of a report back as to what they found. Okay, so let's dive into the 5 questions that I feel like you should be asking those first 90 days. So question number 1 is this, is tell me about your role in the church and blank ministry. So youth ministry, kids ministry, worship ministry, whatever it might be, whatever they're volunteering in, or maybe they're on staff with, right? So tell me your role in the church. So bigger role, because a lot of times people don't volunteer in just one ministry. They're volunteering in other ministries, right? And so it's important for us to get that context to know, man, okay, this person is in kids ministry. This person also in youth ministry. They're in a lot of different ministries. So we need to kind of keep that mindful as we're working with them. And what is your role within the ministry? Okay, so maybe their role is the snack bar person, right? And they're in charge of the snack bar. Maybe they are the guest receptions person. They're checking people in, and they're working with the guests when they come in. But what is that role? We want to really drill down and figure out exactly what that role. And oftentimes people have multiple roles within even the ministry that they're volunteering in. And so what is the greater role that you play in the church? And what is the role that you play within this specific ministry? Now, here's the follow-up to that question, which is really where we start diving in a little bit deeper here is do you feel like that is a good fit for you, or is there a role that would be better fit for you? Oftentimes people have been kind of like put into a role, and 5 years later they're still in that role, but deep down inside they feel like, man, I wish I was doing something different. Or they've been put into a role, and they don't even like the role, but they feel guilty if they were to actually try and move out, right? Like, I want to serve, I want to be involved, I want to help, but man, this just isn't really a good role for me. This is an opportunity for them to share that and let you know, I mean, this is not really a good fit for me. Maybe they're in the nursery, right? And they love the church. But they don't really feel good in the nursery. Well, this is an opportunity for them to express that and say, man, I'd be somewhere else. Again, maybe the student ministries, maybe they've initially started as checking people in and helping people get registered, but now they've seen that, man, being a small group leader would actually be where they feel more comfortable, and they would like to go that next level. Maybe they've been doing, I don't know, maybe they've been helping out with just camps, and now they're ready to move in deeper. This is a time where, again, they can say, man, yeah, this is a great fit for me. I would love to keep going. Or no, not really. This would be a good time for me to reevaluate, adjust, get into a different position. So again, tell me about your role. What is your role in the youth ministry, children's ministry, worship ministry, whatever it might be? And then, is that actually a good fit for you? Do you like doing that? Or is there something else that might be better for you? This is a great opportunity, again, for them just to share where they're at and talk to you. The third one is this, is what has been some of the highlights of the blank ministry in the last few years, right? Again, so what has been some of the highlights in the worship ministry? What's been some of the highlights in the youth ministry over the last few years? Now, if this person's like a long time standing person, then maybe you can dive in even longer with that and say, hey, over the last 10 years, what have been some of the highlights of the youth ministry, the student ministries, the kids ministry, whatever it might be, right? Especially if this has been a high turnover over the last few years, has been high turnover. Maybe you have to jump back even further and say, hey, man, a lot of the last 10 years, what have been some of the highlights of this ministry? And you might be able to get to hear, man, we used to do these great outreach events, and the kids loved it. We used to do VBS and the kids loved it. Or we used to do Awanas and the kids loved it. Or we used to do, summer camp at this camp, and the kids used to love it, but now we have done it differently. Or we used to do small groups in this way, and people loved it. And this was kind of the highlight of how the ministry was. Again, you don't have to do those. You don't have to do all those, but it gives you great insight to know what the ministry has been known for. What were some of the highlights that you would, and you can even ask, what is the youth ministry known for? What is the kids ministry known? What's the church known for, right? Like, what are some of those things that have been known for in the area? All right. Number fourth question here is what would you hate to lose in this transition? And what would you love to change? So as I'm coming in as your new worship pastor, as I'm coming in as your new youth pastor, what would you hate for me to change or have transition? Or what is it that you would love to see changed? Sometimes churches have been using a curriculum for a long time, and like the volunteers don't like it. But, and so they're like, oh, please change the curriculum. Please change that, right? But they don't feel comfortable sharing that. And it's just kind of assumed that everybody loves it. And so this is a time for them to say, man, it would be great to change that. Or, and we really don't like the camp that we've been going to. Or we don't really like whatever it might be, the way that we do small groups, right? And so this is a great opportunity for them to share that with you. Again, you don't have to change it, but it's good for them to at least be able to express that to you. So again, as you're coming in, you're getting a great baseline in those first 90 days to say, okay, this are some of the things that I think that we should hold on to. And maybe here's some of the things that I think that maybe we should be changing and consider changing. Maybe not right now. Maybe you can't change it right now, but maybe you can change it in the future. All right. The fifth question here. The fifth question is this: is there anything that you think would be important for me to know as I'm coming into this new role? Again, this is an open-ended question for them to share, to talk, and to let you know, is there like maybe some people that have caused some issues, some students and some kids, or maybe some past volunteer relationships that are strained that it'd be important for you to know about. And so just, is there anything that I should know? You feel like it'd be really important for me to know as I'm coming into this role. For example, again, if there's been high turnover, maybe they might just say, hey, I think it's important for you to know that we've had a lot of turnover the last few years. And so it might be important for you to just really invest your time in getting to know people first before you make big changes. Or, hey, I think it'd be great for you to know that me and my family are considering moving, right? And so we may not be here for very long. We want to be as committed as possible, but just want to let you know that that's where we're at, or whatever it might be. This is an opportunity for them to share with you. So let's walk through the 5 questions that I feel like you should be asking your volunteers and your staff as you join a new ministry, or maybe you bring in an outside voice to do kind of a consulting for you. Again, this is the things that I ask when I'm going to do consulting for a youth ministry or a kids ministry. These are maybe if you can't pay for that, maybe you just have an outside voice, a friend, a mentor come in and do this for you. So number 1 is tell me your role in the church and in the ministry. Again, what's the bigger, the whole church, and then what's it in this ministry specifically? Do you feel like that role is a good fit for you? Or is there a role that you feel like would be a better fit for you? Number 3 is, what has been some of the highlights of this ministry over the past few years? Number 4 is, what would you hate to lose in this transition? And what would be great to transition in this time? And number 5 is there anything that would be important for me to know as I'm coming in and starting this ministry? Well, I hope this video has been helpful for you. Like, subscribe, and share.